Assalamu alaikum. From the Noble Qur'an, chapter 41, verse 53, we quote, "We will show them our signs in the universe and within their own beings until it will become clear to them that this is the truth." And today, the signs in science regarding our universe are greater than ever before. These signs include evidence that the Noble Qur'an describes our universe much more accurately than certainly non-believers, but in many cases even devout believers might have possibly imagined. For example, in the Noble Qur'an, chapter 51, verse 47, it is written, "And it is we who have constructed the heaven with might, and verily, it is we who are steadily expanding it." Furthermore, here are three signs regarding how our universe is constructed based on modern theoretical evidence: a small circle, a medium circle, and concentric circles. And now here is a sign of how our universe is constructed according to the Noble Qur'an. Concentric circles. Because according to the Noble Qur'an, chapter 67, verse 3, he created 7 heavens, one above the other in layers. Now, we are merely scientists. Zeki is head of the Space Science Division at Akdeniz University. I am curator of the NASA IPAC Extragalactic Database of Distances. We are not scientists specializing in Islamic studies or Islamic scholars. We're merely scientists who believe in the Noble Qur'an and in science. We have also, therefore, brought with us 2 more signs by which you can judge for yourself whether what we believe is valid, and both signs come to us in the form of important and significant books. First, the Noble Qur'an. Second, The Meaning of Relativity by Albert Einstein. Because the signs we showed regarding our universe come to us in large part thanks to Albert Einstein, and in particular his special and general theories of relativity, as described in this book, The Meaning of Relativity. The first sign we showed regarding our universe shows the first modern scientific theory. Modern as in based on the theory of general relativity. It shows the static universe theory, first put forward by Albert Einstein in 1917. The second sign shows the second modern theory. This is the one we're all more familiar with, the Big Bang theory of the expanding universe, also discovered in first put forward in 1917, improved upon later, and of course proven true by Edwin Hubble in 1929. And the third sign shows the third modern theory. This is the dynamic equilibrium universe theory, first put forward by Georges Lemaître in 1927. And while Georges Lemaître is, of course, known best as one of the founding fathers of the Big Bang theory we have today, as we highlight here, you can see that Lemaître's dynamic equilibrium theory, which is a multi-sphere model, is a much more elaborate theory than the one-sphere expanding theory that we have today. In fact, only the dynamic equilibrium theory incorporates both the Einstein static universe and the expanding universe within a single all-encompassing theory. Einstein's static universe is included as a non-changing central core. The expanding universe is included as a changing dynamical region surrounding that central core. And so the universe in equilibrium theory follows the middle way in the sense of incorporating both kinds of theories possible in general relativity, both changing and unchanging, both static and dynamic theories into a single all-encompassing overall theory. And of course the Noble Qur'an also follows the middle way, neither only left or only right, but always both. And so the similarities between the universe in equilibrium theory and the Noble Qur'an are already interesting, even in their basics. But looking deeper still, the only difference, in fact, between our modern cosmological theories, based on their mathematically defined sizes, is that the outer boundary of the universe in equilibrium theory, a factor of 2, or double the size of the expanding universe, and exactly pi times the size of the static universe, factors shown circled in red. So, in other words, these various theories differ in size only by either a factor of 2 or a factor of pi. And pi, of course, is crucial. It allows us to account for the fact that our universe must spin. It must have orbital angular momentum like any elementary particle. And as scientists, it behooves us to remain aware of these possibilities, but unfortunately, the two most important scientists involved, both Albert Einstein, founder of the static theory, and Georges Lemaître, founder of the dynamic equilibrium theory, would both go on to abandon these important theories. And so today, as a result, almost all scientists believe in only the expanding theory. And we forget, at our peril, why Einstein and Lemaître abandoned their now forgotten theories. Both forgotten theories estimate exact, predetermined, and most importantly, measurable sizes for our universe. A 9 billion light year radius for the static universe, and a 14 billion light year radius currently, with an outer boundary radius of 28 billion light years for the universe in equilibrium theory. But in the 1920s, such predictions could not possibly have been verified based on observational evidence. And in fact, both theories of these predictions of these exact sizes are based on their central idea that our universe must exist in a state of perfect balance. Now, balance is important. When Einstein first postulated the basic general theory of relativity in 1915, he quickly encountered a very serious problem. General relativity, of course, is the theory of gravitation, but all theories based on gravity alone, Isaac Newton's included, will inevitably crush inward on themselves to a central single point. And so to overcome that problem, Einstein added his famous and later infamous, and now famous again, cosmological constant. Now this is something Einstein attributed to electromagnetic repulsion. It's an outward repulsive force, but it is required nevertheless in order to counterbalance gravity's inward attraction. And it results, of course, in a universe in perfect balance, as said, but one that is never changing, eternal, the Einstein static universe. And so too, Lemaître's dynamic equilibrium theory is in perfect balance. It's based on the same cosmological constant that balances Einstein's static universe, but results in a universe of slightly larger size, the largest size possible, in fact, that remains self-contained, because it allows room for changing dynamic motions, including expansion and contraction. But unfortunately, again, in the 1920s, there was no possible way to confirm or refute the idea that our universe must exist in a state of perfect balance based on observational evidence. And in fact, with observational evidence favoring an expanding universe as discovered by Hubble in 1929, Einstein and Lemaître both pretty quickly abandoned the idea that gravitational matter might exist in perfect balance with a cosmological constant. And that is where things would stand today. An expanding or Big Bang theory with no possibility of balance, if it were not for the discovery in the late 1990s based on observations of distant Type 1a supernovae explosions, that vacuum energy, or dark energy as it's known today, does in fact exist, and quite possibly in the form of a cosmological constant. And so today, abundant observational evidence exists that supports the middle way, as we shall see. But even without observational evidence, we already have powerful theoretical evidence that the one sphere and one way only Big Bang universe currently favored, as it stands, has two crucial flaws. First, the idea that all space and time exists within and only within our own particular universe, and that nothing whatsoever exists beyond our own universe, is arguably inaccurate. Second, the idea that everything in existence could have exploded into existence out of absolutely nothing, and that nothing whatsoever could have possibly preceded the Big Bang, is also demonstrably inaccurate. Now, problem one exists because the idea that nothing exists beyond our universe is just contrary to both intuition and observations, because as we zoom in toward the limits of our observable universe, as observed by the NASA Hubble Space Telescope in the ultra-long duration exposure known as the Hubble Ultra Deep Field, first to 10 times more magnification and then to 100 times more magnification, we can see our observable universe has a visible, finite, measurable extent of around 14 billion light years. And so what, therefore, comes beyond that? Is it nothing as currently believed, or is it something as it must logically be in order to make common sense? Now, regarding problem 2, the idea of nothing before the Big Bang, completely at odds with the central tenets that all scientists hold most dear, that our universe, which is made of something, could possibly have come from nothing, just flies in the face of all the laws of conservation, the conservation of mass, the conservation of energy, the conservation of mass energy. And on this fact, it is literally as though today's expanding universe theory requires us to accept that then a miracle occurs. I mean, it's good work, but I think it might need just a little more detail right here. And so we can compare the never-ending expanding theory and its theoretical limitations with the universe in equilibrium theory and its theoretical possibilities. Because the expanding theory involves one sphere only, it cannot possibly account for what lies beyond that sphere, or what in fact exists beyond our own universe. Nor can a one-sphere theory possibly account for what came before that sphere began to expand, or what came before the Big Bang. Whereas by comparison with the three-sphere model, what lies beyond and what came before are easy to understand. First, just by adding an outer boundary to the expansion radius, the universe in equilibrium theory is saying our universe goes this far and no farther. And our own universe does not constitute all space and time that exists, and therefore, beyond our own universe, space and time can continue onward infinitely as they logically must. And so in this way, we can see our own universe as merely one among an infinite number of universes. And even as a mere universe within other universes, including universes of infinitely larger size, and universes within universes of infinitely smaller size, as shown here. And of course, this is a very old, in fact ancient, and interesting idea. It can be traced back to at least ancient Greece, possibly as far back as ancient Arabia and Egypt. And further, this is the only picture possible, period, of how our universe exists if two facts are true. Fact one, space and time are infinite, as they must logically be. And fact two, our own universe is not infinite, it's finite. Most important of all, instead of arising from nothing, the Big Bang can be understood as merely one of an infinite number of phases of expansion and contraction, each with, of course, a definite finite beginning, as now theorized, but each of which, as it turns out, is destined to be repeated eternally. And so we're talking about the ultimate flower in the ultimate garden, but unfortunately, modern science has not yet accepted this idea. Yet expansion and contraction could repeat in endless cycles. And it's unfortunate because only two things can change modern science. First, observational evidence, which, as we shall show, we have in abundance. But second, common language, which is where we believe our problems lie. Because according to Albert Einstein, common language is the only tool we have that allows humans to make any sense at all out of any of their observations. And of course, long before any common language, let alone common sense, can be established, people first need to establish common beliefs and a common faith.
It is worth pausing, therefore, since our universe has been pondered for thousands and millions of years, to think about what has already been written.
And so, for example, what does the Noble Qur'an have to say about our universe? To find out, I decided to study the Noble Qur'an for its astronomical references. I proceeded using the same scientific method that I apply for the NASA IPAC Extragalactic database in my daily study of the astronomical papers that come out every day. And so my findings are nothing more, but also nothing less than what a computer would find. As I read the Noble Qur'an from chapter 1 to chapter 114, I simply recorded certain key words. I searched in particular for the astronomical words and terms found in my English translation of the Noble Qur'an. Simple, easy. This is the database of 714 examples of astronomical words and terms that I found appearing in my English translation of the Noble Qur'an, but these are the 12 astronomical words and terms I found in my translation of the Noble Qur'an. And because I was a first-time reader of the Noble Qur'an and am in no way an expert or anything at all like a full-time scholar devoted to studying the Prophet's reminder, it was encouraging for me to note that for the word moon, for example, where I found it appearing 27 times, others more learned than me have also found that same number of examples of the word moon in their studies of the Noble Qur'an. I take this, therefore, as a sign that my own research has been fair and respectful of the Prophet's reminder. And so, therefore, as titled, Modern Cosmology, Noble Qur'an, what does the Noble Qur'an, written 14 centuries ago, have to teach us today about modern cosmology? In the Noble Qur'an, chapter 27, verse 64, it is written, "Who originates creation, then regenerates it." And in the Noble Qur'an, chapter 29, verse 19, it is written, "God originates creation, then reproduces it." And in the Noble Qur'an, chapter 30, verse 11, it is written, "God originates the creation and shall repeat it." And in the Noble Qur'an, chapter 30, verse 27, it is written, "The one who originates creation then repeats it." And from this language, we understand that our universe, according to the Noble Qur'an, is a cyclical, eternally regenerating and repeating creation. And that is exactly what Lemaître's dynamic equilibrium theory describes. Further, the Noble Qur'an's account is nothing at all like either the never-ending expanding theory popular today or the never-changing static theory of before. Now, in the Noble Qur'an, chapter 17, verse 44, it is written, "Seven heavens and the earth." And in the Noble Qur'an, chapter 41, verse 12, it is written, "Seven heavens, lower heaven, with brilliant lamps, stars." And in the Noble Qur'an, chapter 67, verse 3, it is written, "He created seven heavens, one above the other in layers." And in the Noble Qur'an, chapter 71, verse 15, it is written, "God has created the seven heavens, one above another." And from this language, we understand that the construction or architecture of our universe, according to the Noble Qur'an, involves multiple layers or boundaries. And that is exactly as envisioned in Lemaître's dynamic equilibrium theory. And this is particularly clear when the dynamic equilibrium theory is seen as defining the size of our own particular universe and recalling that our own universe is probably just one universe existing both among and within an infinite number of other universes, including those of infinitely larger sizes, and each of them containing within themselves other universes of infinitely smaller size. The Noble Qur'an and the dynamic equilibrium theory say one thing, that our universe is a cyclic and eternally regenerating creation, whereas today's scientists say something completely different, that our universe is a single creation of something out of nothing. And so now is the time, now more than ever, for us to look at the observational evidence. One sign is the Hubble constant of expansion over the universe's history. Now, it sounds complicated, but it's simple. Is the Hubble constant truly a constant? In the dynamic equilibrium universe theory, and if expansion is cyclic, yes, it is. But if expansion is endless, no, it's not. If expansion is endless and slowing down or decelerating, the Hubble constant would have been higher in the past. If expansion is endless and speeding up or accelerating, the Hubble constant would have been lower in the past. And when we plot the observational evidence based on all the measurements of the Hubble constant published in the last 5 years, the Hubble constant does in fact appear to be a constant over cosmological history. And therefore, observational evidence exists that rules out both of the endless expansion scenarios, whether decelerating or accelerating, and rules in the dynamic equilibrium universe, and by inference, that the Noble Qur'an might provide a more accurate description of our universe than is currently available in the best astronomical textbooks. And confirmation that expansion is not accelerating would be a very good thing, because deep in our hearts we know this can't be right, is exactly how Robert Kirshner described accelerating expansion, and he was one of the scientists who worked on one of the 2 teams who discovered the vacuum energy in the first place, observing supernovae. Now, additional signs based on observational evidence are available. The spiral galaxies, they grow in size over the universe's history. They grow from a size of initially 0 when expansion first began to around 50,000 light years at the halfway point, to the size that we see today, on average around 100,000 light years in diameter, like the Milky Way. Note, however, that they grow at a steady, constant, and therefore linear rate, and this is a huge surprise, because linear trends cannot exist or be observed among any indicators of cosmic distance, whether standard ruler based, such as based on the diameters of spiral galaxies, if the universe's expansion is truly accelerating, as currently believed. And so this is our second way of proving, based on observational evidence, that accelerating expansion might be a misunderstanding. And in fact, the only evidence favoring accelerating expansion involved the increased dimming with increasing cosmic distance of light from supernovae. But that dimming can just as easily be explained as due to the dimming you'd expect for light that has traveled halfway across the visible universe. And light from distant supernovae ought to be dimmed because of the gravitational bending of light due to the total mass of the universe, in the same way that the sun's gravity bends light rays from distant stars. And in fact, the bending of light rays caused by gravity is a key feature of general relativity. And so once again, observational evidence exists that lends support to dynamic equilibrium theory and the Noble Qur'an and their idea that our universe is cyclic. Now, a third way is available. A third way is available using the best observational evidence to prove the dynamic equilibrium theory's way and the Qur'an's way might be the true way, the middle way and the best way for humans to understand our universe. We can compare the numerical predictions for the properties of our universe as based on the dynamic equilibrium theory with the best estimates available of those properties. For example, take the Hubble constant of expansion based on Lemaître's theory. H equals 68.7 kilometers per second per megaparsec. And that is exactly the same, to within the margin of error, in fact, with 1%, of the value arrived at by Chen et al. And by Calabresi et al., both of who arrived at that result by taking the average of all the Hubble constant measurements that had been published up to the years shown. That is also exactly the same, again, to within the margin of error, and in fact within 1%, of the value arrived at by the most accurate single measurement to date by the NASA Wilkinson Microwave Anisotropy Probe. Take the rest matter density for the universe. Based on Lemaître's dynamic equilibrium theory, simply 1 over pi, so 0.318, which is intriguingly close to the default value that scientists use of 0.3, but it is identically close, again, to within the margin of error, in fact within 1%, of the value arrived at by the most accurate single measurement to date, thanks to the European Space Agency's Planet mission. Now, these predictions come to us thanks to a simplification of the mathematics. It's a grand simplification that allows for all the basic properties of our universe to be calculated easily, including her age, size, mass, Hubble constant of expansion, by just using combinations of the two most fundamental constants we have in science. The speed of light, c, and the Newtonian gravitational constant, g. Take, for example, the universe's size at the top. For the radius r, simply plug in c squared over g. If anyone here has a calculator, please plug in these numbers, and with Allah as my witness, this is the number of centimeters that comes out. Now, never mind the dimensional transformations shown in brackets. Numerically, these dimensional differences amount to just 1.0 anyway. The number of centimeters found is equal to the number of light years shown, and this is how we arrive at these predictions based on the dynamic equilibrium theory. And note, the Hubble constant of expansion is also the resonant frequency of our universe. And so, if we scale it by octaves or a factor of 2 doublings, our universe's resonant frequency based on the dynamic equilibrium theory would in fact be in harmony with the musical note E, or the musical note so, speaking acoustically and according to how we hear, and it would also be in harmony with the color violet, speaking visually and in terms of how we see. Now, finally, regarding coincidences and signs based on modern cosmology, since the resonant frequency of our universe might be the musical note E, let us also talk about E as in the total energy E of our universe, and provide you with a sign in the form of an equation that is easy to understand and that you will always remember. The total energy of our universe must equal mc squared multiplied by pi, because as Einstein's more famous equation shows, the energy in matter alone equals only mc squared. And the rest of the total energy of our universe is, of course, vacuum energy, and the total energy must be pi times greater than the rest mass energy, because the factor of pi we showed earlier is crucial, as we said, in accounting for the fact that our universe must spin like any elementary particle. One last sign for you to see with your own eyes involves placing onto the human eye the exact blueprint, in scale, pictorial representation of Lemaître's dynamic equilibrium theory. This, in fact, is the best sign available that this is the truth. It is written in the Noble Qur'an, chapter 41, verse 53, we will show them our signs in the universe and within their own beings until it will become clear to them that this is the truth. Now is the time, therefore, now more than ever, that we need to establish firmly and quickly the common grounds, common language, common sense, and common faith that human beings will require first and foremost if we were to have any chance at all of proving to them the truth about our universe. It turns out that at least one common faith that humans can follow for a greater understanding of modern cosmology is already here. That faith is Islam. The proof is in the Noble Qur'an, and as you have seen and heard with your own eyes and ears in the astronomical language used in the Noble Qur'an to describe our universe, which, as it turns out, could prove to be very accurate based on the most modern cosmological evidence, both theoretical and observational. The Noble Qur'an, therefore, and Islam could prove crucial to the future of every human being alive today. Because if our collective future depends, as it always has, on our collective faith in that future, then now more than ever is the time for humans to establish a more perfect union among their differing beliefs and faiths. Because if not now, when? And if not by us, who This is important because the revolution that modern cosmology is facing will change everything about how scientists understand our universe by 180 degrees. We're talking about a full, complete 180-degree revolution here because scientists are about to discover that the answers they seek regarding our universe are not answers to be found only in our future. They're answers that already exist in our past, in our history. These answers have been available to us for years, for centuries. A universe that is cyclic was described in scientific language by Georges Lemaître around 1 century ago. A universe that is cyclic was described in conceptual language in the Noble Qur'an around 14 centuries ago. And the resurrection of this old and ancient knowledge has the power to change everything. For example, the revolution in cosmology is also going to be a revolution for Islam. Because from what we have seen and heard, modern cosmology's destiny is not to take Islam to the world. Modern cosmology is destined to bring the world to Islam. Selamun Aleyküm.
Teşekkür ederiz.